Who's that stud?
I said, Dr. Japan, look, I ran out of clothes, so I had to put on my brother's souvenir t-shirts today. It was the last bit of thing clean wear. I've had a bit of a grueling return from Japan, John, but good to see you, mate. You're smiling, and I know you got a ton of intel. You've been blowing up my phone for days.
Yeah, sorry about that. And I hope you're
No, no.
getting jet lag from you're getting back off your jet lag from that flying.
Yeah, I had to come back through. I went through Tokyo, Beijing, Paris, Spain, and then I couldn't get back to my home airport, so I had to take another one and then, get another few train journeys. So, but I feel pretty good, John. When I was younger, when I was a younger man and I was more of a drinking man, I noticed this thing about myself. When I get about 3 hours sleep, it makes me feel like I've had a full 8 or 10 hours, and I can do that 3 hours, take a nap. But I haven't had a nap today, but I feel pretty good. My brain is firing on all 12 cylinders. I don't like V8. I prefer V12.
There you go. That
I'm
works, man.
feeling good. I'm excited to know what you're going to share because there's been a lot going on. I know you're on top of this Middle Eastern political, especially from Sudani, and then we've got Iran, we've got Iraq, we've got the Israelis, we've got the Palestinians. I mean, everyone's just making their own form of this is my favorite cocktail and chucking it over the wall at the moment. I'm talking about Molotov cocktails, John, not the
Right.
type that we enjoy at a nice evening event. But I'm gonna let you kick it off and see where this goes because I know you got a ton of intel. So let's rock and roll, mate.
All right, man. It's good to have you back. I told the audience that we were anticipating having you last week, but the Japan trip was just too prohibitive. So we're here
It's
today.
16 hours time difference. It's
Yeah,
like
it's
I'm already jet lagged. If I was living there, you could do it. You could get up in the morning, but it's your brain is fried. I just couldn't
no,
do it. But I
it's
didn't
not
do any recording while I was there.
it's not solvable doing that kind of a time difference. But it works out better today anyway because number one of that, and number two, today is the first day of BRICS, so we're very
Yeah,
excited about that. And I'm going to have you after I do this talk about what I sent you on the phone. We'll get to that as a backup.
yeah.
The first thing I want to show you is pretty cool. The team and I have been going over this last couple of days. I saved it just for you,
Oh,
and so I'm going to share the screen. This is off of a what is it? USA Network, I think. I don't watch TV anymore, but somebody sent it's a USA series. I'm sure it's going to get streamed on Hulu or Amazon or something along those
yeah,
lines. But this is very telling, David, of NESARA, and we know they do predictive programming on the television. So this
yeah.
came on. I wanted to bring this to you and the audience attention, respectively. So take a look at this. This is the scene, and I'll wait till you can see it. Can you see what I'm looking at now?
Yeah. I'm gonna mute my mic in case there's any feedback from this.
Okay.
I think I've seen this, so let's play it, John.
So there's these two women talking, and it's an Asaracom, and I'll just let it play. You'll see. Hopefully, everybody can hear it, but here it goes.
Mhm.
Pretty epic, right?
Yeah, and there's a very poignant, important sentence. It's the greatest redistribution of wealth that in human history. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, that's exactly what Nasara and Tashara is all about, is returning the wealth to the people that have had it stolen from them. So, I mean, wouldn't you love to see that happen sooner rather than later, John? What account did she say at the start of that video? Have you watched it a few times? I couldn't
Watched it a
quite get.
couple of. I watched it a couple of times. They didn't allude to it, but it reminds me a lot of the XRP or the network. It sounds like the QFS system, and they can't hack it back because it's open transparency with digital ledger technology. And I'll tie in, David, what happened with President Trump over the weekend in Pennsylvania with the McDonald's thing. We
Yeah.
think that two things happened, two comms. He was calling out McDonald's for their cannibalism because he's putting a spotlight on them. And two, he was giving away stuff. So you tie that to this movie, he's going to be giving out checks to the people. That's what we've seen in the spirit coming.
I wasn't sure if that was a real event. So he was behind the driveway counter serving food, was he? Is that
Mm-hmm.
what he was doing? That
We
looked
don't know if
like it
that
was.
we don't know if that's the real Trump, but certainly one of them was doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they said something at the start of the video saying this has gone into their special account like it sounded like um it wasn't CBDC, but it sounded like
No,
something to do with crypto, electronic
crypto.
currency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But that's exactly what we're waiting to happen, to redistribute the wealth that the cabal have stolen from all of our generations, going back, at least through 10 generations have been doing
at
this.
least.
At
Well, the
least.
wicked being laid up for the righteous, brother, like we've talked about. But what they're telling you is predictive programming in the mainstream society. They're telling you what's coming. It's just
Yeah.
you catch the comms or not, and obviously you and I and many others do, and that's why we're here. So
Yeah, I get it. And you know what? Things are becoming more and more like that, because if we look back at 4 years ago, the content that was showing up on streaming entertainment, television wise, such as Netflix and Hulu, Um, I'm always scanning about and looking at it, but there's a lot less of what they were trying to throw at us, such as rainbow flags and
mm,
transgenderism and accept these people. And now there's stories and shows like this coming out saying the greatest distribution of wealth in human history. And
yep.
this was something that this was the tagline from Nasara Jasara. So maybe some of the other information can indicate how close we're getting, John, that you're going to share tonight.
Yeah, and before I get into some more, which I'll show you, thanks for sharing the video on your side to make it easier for everybody. I appreciate the
Sure,
say,
buddy.
as usual, brother. Good assist. Not little things, lots of like micro fractions of things happening. Like the singer from One Direction that just died, fell over a balcony. That's like
Another
the
one.
third or fourth time we've heard that from other people. We just reported on our Telegram today that it's because he was going to be the next person to leak out the music industry. So they're doing
Yeah,
that. Go ahead.
I saw it. One Direction was the band, wasn't it? He was in. Was that it? Yeah, I saw that flashing up on X while I was away, and I said, "Oh, come on, man! Do people really still believe, that
Yeah.
a grown man, also in good physical condition, it looked like, can just fall out of a window, by
Yeah.
accident? I mean, where was he? Was he Palm Springs or somewhere? Where did it say it happened?
I think it was overseas, if I remember
Oh,
right.
it's true. It was in Europe, like Hungary or somewhere weird, wasn't
Something
it?
like yeah, something like that. And then you had today was reported the ex-CEO of Abercrombie and Finch arrested for sex trafficking. So that
Oh,
that theme is becoming more and more prevalent because see, we're in the end codes, right? We're the cabal end codes where they have to tell you we're at the ending of the old season, David. We're changing of the guard right now. So pretty cool.
Abercrombie and Finch, really. I mean, that must be code word for something, because
Yeah.
that's a company that's been around for quite a long time. I mean,
Oh, sure.
yeah, I mean, they've dressed half of America wears that stuff. So, if and did you say the CEO? The CEO is being charged.
Ex-CEO, the ex-CEO.
Ex-CEO. Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. That's another thing they've all been doing, John, is jumping ship, I've noticed.
Yep.
If we go back through, I bumped into a New Zealand couple on the flight coming back, and I was saying how bad Jacinta Ardern is, or was during COVID, and then how much money she made during those days she was in office. And these people knew it straight away. They said, "Yeah, yeah, this is the figures that she's got." So, a lot of these people that were in power a couple of years ago think that they can just, okay, I'm not the CEO anymore. I'll just take a step back, because I
Mm.
think a lot of this has been bubbling for a while. They know that their end of days is coming because of exposure and other people that they're involved with, and the feds or whoever's investigating, probably the military. You can't trust the FBI at the moment. Will be putting the squeeze on these people, and they'll be screaming out names and information. So it doesn't surprise me, and I would say there's going to be a hell of a lot more. I'm just waiting for this.
Oh,
We
yeah.
still haven't had that. The first arrest will be a shocker, but I'm a big believer in the next couple of weeks before we get up to the election, John. There is going to have to be an event that's going to make people go, "What? Like, holy shit, what is that?" Just to
Right.
get even more people to awaken from that CNN slumber on their lazy boys and the Doritos.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's see what else you've got. But that's a great piece of intel. That video shows a lot and tells a lot, as we know they have to disclose it. And
Yep.
then also that there's other bits and pieces going on. The Trump thing was interesting. I did see that. So yeah, what's going on in the Middle East? Is that where you're going to go next?
No, I'm going to finish with the SAR because there's another good video that I'll show you about that. But yeah, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Remember that X-22 has been reporting, Dave, for quite some time. I don't know if you're aware that
Yeah,
first arrest would shock the world.
yeah,
It was discussed on, and we don't. It could happen this date. It could happen differently. this is what he's reporting, and he's been more right than not, more accurate. That October 30th is when Hillary is supposed to be, her double will be arrested.
Hillary. You when he's on Hillary being arrested, yeah?
Yeah, that's what we're being told is the next thing to watch as far as like the big wake up call, because they're going to just right before the election, going to continue to wake people up till the end.
Sure. Well,
let me
queue up the next video, John. And what you might have done on that one is when you go to share, if you see on the right hand side, you'll see us, and then underneath it, there's a little tick box saying share sound.
Okay. My apologies. Let me.
Yeah. I do it all the time, buddy. I've done hundreds, thousands of these.
Let me go to the next one.
Click on that, and we should.
Let me stop this. My apologies, guys. Let me get this together. Okay. Now you said to go to the.
Yep. And when you click, can you see there's a little box when you click share on the right hand side, it says share sound.
Yes, I see it. Okay.
Right.
Let's
try that.
That's the other one. Thank you for the assist. Okay, here we go. So this is another Nasaricon that I thought that I caught the other day. I thought was quite interesting. And it's talking more about the QFS system being here and now, and part of Nasar how they're going to roll this out, which complements the previous video. So here we go.
You guys out there think this is a joke? There is no more Federal Reserve note on the U.S. debt clock. It is now the U.S. Treasury dollar. QFS is in place. Let me show you. This is essentially the bill. This is on Congress.gov. I'm going to show you guys. This is HR 6227. Look it up. This bill directs the president to implement a national quantum initiative program. Amongst all things, establish the goals and priorities for a plan to accelerate the development of quantum information science and technology applications. Quantum information science and its use of laws. Quantum physics for storage, transmission, manipulation, and measurement of information. What does this all mean? Let me put it in layman's terms. Basically, what it means is the monetary debt system is going to put an end to the financial slavery and control over the populace. The QFS is an advanced financial system launched to eradicate monopoly on a monetary system for that purpose. The system comprised of artificial intelligence and complex computer programs fully backed by banks as needed. Quantum financial system would be a breakthrough in the world of banking, which will lead to a new era of banking. QFS will not be influenced by government policies, rather than be entirely backed by tangible assets like gold, platinum, silver, and will not be based upon mere piece of paper, which has no evidentiary value. National Quantum Initiative Act. Here it is, run at Congress.gov, HR 6227, National Quantum Initiative Act. If you guys go on QFS Live, you can read all these articles. These articles are really important. You can see, like, talking about the BRICS common currency, BRICS to create further payment mechanisms, precious metals as moving forward, etc. I don't tell you guys this to scare you, but the quantum financial system is in effect. It's already in effect. It's going through. The banks are shutting down. Silicon Valley Bank started it. Now the dominoes are going to fall. 187 banks are said to be wiped out. They don't have the assets. They don't have the gold. When you go and you put in your money in, they don't have the gold to back your money. So what they're doing is they're taking out loans from other bigger banks. And these bigger banks cannot loan them the money because they don't have the actual gold or the silver or the platinum. There's no monetary value that are backing cash. Cash is going to be gone. Cash is not king anymore, guys. It's going to be digital assets. And to be exact, these are some of those digital assets. You got XRP Ripple, XLM Stellar, Zenfin. You have IOTA. You have Algorand. You have gold. You have silver. I say this so you guys are prepared. Quantum financial system is in effect. Nasara. Go on QFS.live. Go on Congress.org. Trust me, this is in effect. You're not going to be able to get your money out of the banks. Silicon Valley started it. That bank fell. It started the domino effect. Dominoes are following. All the other banks are going to follow. Get ready for the digital dollar.
Very interesting that talking about the digital. I was just checking some figures while we were watching that, John, about what's going on. Gold has really rallied. Have you seen how much that's gone up? It's gone up. Your microphone's off, is it? No, I don't hear you anymore.
Okay, is that better? 27. Yeah. Sorry, I muted my mic. 27.56, I think, is last I checked. And silver's almost at 30. It's approaching $35 right now.
Yeah, gold's rallied. That's very interesting. I'm just looking at that.
It's going to continue to.
XRP is about the same, but I think that's artificial. People they're trying to keep the attention off that.
Well, there's a counter. There's a counter. What do you call it? Counterclaim, or basically because SEC is trying to hold them down. Basically, the SEC knows they're going to lose. They're just doing this to delay the wealth of that. But what's interesting is XRP is already working with the BRICS. Remember, I showed you India bought a ton of oil from China for the petrol yuan using XRP. So they're working with some Asian country who escapes me. I want to say Singapore, but I could be wrong. But it's in an Asian province, and XRP was already up way higher than what it's posted. So a lot of this stuff is being sort of suppressed to roll out at a specific time. I still think we're going to be able to use, as BRICS starts to de-dollarize this week, whether they say it or not, and they nationalize their currencies, which we know is the reset, we will still have the dollar, but it's just going to continue to lose value more and more and more in the index, because as the dollar index goes down, the foreign currency markets go up, which is what we want for this, right? And the dollar's not worth anything anyway. It hasn't been for years, as you would say. But you have to still transition, people, elderly population is still going to need some cash hand. People like us and younger are accustomed to cryptos and will know how to navigate it. But the good news is that it's actually going to be backed, not pegged, but gold and silver backed, real physical money. That's what Basel III is all about. What he was talking about, the banks, if they're not Basel III compliant, they're out of here. So in the old days, our grandparents would take a check, cash it, and they could get it in money, dollars, or they could get it in physical gold and silver. Ostensibly, it will work, we think, the same way, except it'll be now they'll get, physical or digital gold that they can convert, into a wallet or some other place outside the banking system, which will make us our own central banks. And we will ostensibly, David, do peer-to-peer banking. So in the future, if I want to hire you to do some consulting for me or vice versa, I would just pay you an XRP or XLM or Shiba or any other mechanism we want. And it's like Venmo and Zelle without the middleman. Easiest way to think of it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me.
The only thing about that is the fluctuation in value if you're tagging it against currencies. But if we do away with currencies like paper currencies,
right,
whether it's the euro, the dollar, the pound, if we're trading in XRP, that'll have a certain value in our country, and we'll know about it. Say, okay, it's 10 XRP for a loaf of bread, for example.
Well, XRP will be backed in gold, and gold will be the stabilizer to avoid the fluctuation, because we'll be removing the third and final private Western central bank. That's what Trump is doing. That's why he had Andrew Jackson on the left side of his wall in the White House, because Jackson was the second one to remove the central bank. He will be the third.
Oh, it all makes sense. All these comms coming out now. They're clever how they place things around. So what are we going to advise people to do about that? Because I know we're going to get slammed with emails saying, well, what should I do? Should I take my money out of the bank? And I mean, we've said this from the start. We're not financial experts, but what we can do is indicate, based on what we've been reading and absorbing, how we would handle our funds. And I think that's the easiest way to do it for my side of things. I've got XRP. I've got a few other bits of crypto, but most of my savings would still be in fiat currency, which would be euros or pounds.
Mind if I take a crack at that?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
So I'm not a financial advisor. It's not constituted, like you said, as financial advice. We're just giving you good information that you can use for your own discernimental authority and ability, which you all know we have to use that disclaimer. Mm-hmm. That being said, I can tell you folks what I'm doing, which is diversifying. Becoming your own central bank means that having your own physical gold and silver, having the right foreign currencies, having the right bonds like Zimbabwe, having the right cryptos, which is asset-backed stuff which will be asset-backed, like XRP, XLM, XDC, Algorand's another good one, Shiba Inu we've talked about. Interesting with Shiba is Satoshi Kazama is stepping down, another Cabal code stepping down the end of this year. And we're seeing Shiba is probably by January 1 is really going to start to break out into a positive position. So do with that what you will as part of advice. As far as banks go, try to get out of the majors and stay in credit unions if you can, and just have a diversification. I like to have at least 5 bank accounts. And this way it's spread out. You're not spread too thin in any one direction. I don't like JP Morgan because I just finished a book here that I recommend everybody read. It's called The Creature of Jekyll Island. This is like War and Peace for the financial world. It's close to 600 pages. And it's even though I know this stuff well, it still gave me a headache realizing how much they've shafted our generations and that we can never let that happen again. But, it all ties back to the Rothschilds and JP Morgan. They started this whole thing here in America in the last 100 years.
Well, let me share something with the audience that's happened the last couple of days. Well, about a week ago, I'm used to having my accounts frozen, John, because what happens is they'll say, everything is peachy at the start. And then something will happen. They'll say, well, we don't like this. And what's this about? So basically, I made a transaction. It was just to pay some supplier of mine. And they didn't like the country it was going to. So they said, well, what's the story? Send us the invoice. I said, no. They said, well, what are you talking about? No. I said, no. The person on that invoice that I do business with has no connection to you. So I cannot send you the invoice with their details on it because you're asking me to break the law, which is the Privacy Act of 2018. The banks ignore this. They say, well, if you don't do it, we're going to freeze your accounts. I say, go ahead, freeze them. So sure enough, and it wasn't just one. Then they started getting arsey, you see. They sent me about 15 different requests for stuff that's impossible for me to give them. And I said, tell you what, guys, you're not the police. You're not a financial investigation squad. You're a bank. And you now got so uppity that you think that we need you, where you're not the last cold Coca-Cola on the beach on a summer's day. So I'm going to say no. I'm not going to give you any information. My private affairs of who I do business, what, why, where, and when are none of your business. It's private. Hence, they passed the act. And here's the trick, folks. If this happens to you and they freeze your accounts, you'll get warning signs. Too many letters. Explain this. Why did you spend $300 out? Where are you going on that flight ticket you bought for $150? Why are you going to Colombia? They'll start doing things like that. These are your warning signs to move the money out of that bank somewhere else. So I got distracted and took no notice. So they froze my account. I said, right, I want to close my account. I'm not going to give you any information. And here's the forwarding details. As soon as you give them, the only criteria is whatever's on the name of the account that you use, got to have exactly the same name. So where it's a business account, can be difficult. If it's a personal account, no problem. You're always going to have that. And they cannot hold on to your money. They have to send it to you. But one of the banks I set up, and this is where all this long ramble came from. One of the banks I set up was a Lithuanian bank. And I was like, oh God, okay, let's just clear it because I know they're gonna have problems for me. And then when they opened the account, which is an online account, the host of the banking is all JP Morgan. So the main one, JP Morgan, and then there's a secondary account for a different currency that's in Chase Bank, and even the transaction codes are all in Chase. So Chase Bank, JP Morgan Investments, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to get rid of this one now. And after all that opening and bothering, as soon as I saw that, my alarm bells went off everywhere, buddy. So you got to watch who you actually are banking with. You know, let's just take Wells Fargo. Who really owns it? What's going on? I know we've always talked about Wells Fargo being one of the good guys with the transitioning of their offices into wealth management offices instead of the counters.
I wouldn't say they're one of the good guys or they're the best of the worst of the tier ones.
Yeah.
Because they have, they just bucked a lawsuit, which doesn't mean and they necessarily were in the right. But what I maintain in my own personal belief is, like I said, best of the worst. They're one of the main tier one banks that will survive because of the wealth transfer through the reset, because they were the flagship bank for the currencies. That's going to be the bread and butter with the basis point, right? So every time we go to exchange, whether it's one time or 10 times, it's a 1 basis point transaction, which is close to 100,000 US per transaction. So it's in their best interest to work with you and stick around. That said, I will we have a bit of an unfair advantage here, David, in America, as opposed to the rest of the world, because we have the Constitution, we have guns, we have a certain amount of rights that we're wresting back from the corporation, right?
Yeah.
That's what part of all this great movement we're talking about is constituting. So a great bank that I've enjoyed personally, if anybody's interested, is Old Glory Bank out of Oklahoma. It's started by John Rich and Dr. Ben Carson and also Larry Elder, who are all conservative constitutionalists. And they're really about protecting free speech and your constitutional right. Obviously, I would presume that favors more to the right than left, but that would be to be expected. But the point is, you have a lot more freedoms with that bank than you do with any of the majors. And then I'm going tomorrow on my day off, to one of my rare days off, to a bank here that is got a prominent location in Tennessee, where I'm headed, but they also have a branch here, Farmers and Merchants. It's owned primarily by the farmers, which we know Trump and Massara support. You also saw that, by the way, with Nelson Chamisa on the one of the pictures I sent, one of the posts I sent you, that he supported the farmers. The countries copy each other. So the farmers mostly own it. They're not CBDC. They're not Fed now. They have a very low debt ceiling right now. If they're low in debt now, it means it's going to be even better later. So that's a bank that I'm entertaining because it's technically a credit union for the farmers. And so I've a keen interest in doing that. So that's a way that we can pivot away from post RV from the major banks. Now, let me show you one other video here. I pray I can get to this here. Let me get out of this. Forgive me 1 second, folks. I got to get out of that screen and get to here. And I'm sorry. This thing is taking a few twists and turns here. I've got it.
Live TV.
Yeah, here we go. I'm queuing it up now. Let me make sure that let me pause this and make sure that the sound is still good. Share sound. Stereo. We'll give you a bit of stereo. Let me know if you can hear this. This was last week. Some of you have seen this on other videos I've done, but I'm doing this for your audience as well, David. Here's what's interesting. This was last week before this week's summit of the BRICS. This is the central bank governor of Iran. Very timely right now with what's going on in the world. And basically he's saying that they have a great agreement in place to diplomatically to de-dollarize and to nationalize, that's a key word, other currencies in the BRICS bloc. What's one of those currencies? The dinar.
Yeah.
What's another one? The rial, the toman, his, right? Because they got sanctions on
5
it.
or 6. You're going to have the Venezuelan Bolivar.
You got the Vietnamese dong, Thai baht. There's a ton of them. North and South Korean won. Once they merge, that'll be another good one we talked about. So I just want the audience to see this. So here we go.
Well, John, you're showing a Zoom page, so you've got the wrong page showing on my side.
Oh, you want to show this one?
No. What? Just push stop share.
Oh, I see.
Because what you've done, and then go back in and reselect it because you had it up there before, and then it's easy.
I see. Sorry about that. Okay, let me get to that, and we'll.
There you go. Perfect.
Got it.
Let's have a listen.
Apologies, folks. Thanks for being patient. Appreciate the support. Okay, so here's the video, and here's what he's talking about.
In the BRICS meetings, there were very good agreements made regarding the financial and monetary sphere. Iran made good agreements with the Central Bank of Russia during the period when they were the secretary of BRICS, and we had good agreements regarding the connection of card networks and monetary and financial cooperation, all of which we have raised in the BRICS. For example, today in the BRICS, the issue of paying for the transactions with local currency is one of the issues, and a very good agreement has been reached. Good agreements regarding global reserve payments and the use of bonds for payment were also made. We now have a global financial system based mostly on the IMF, the World Bank, and Western countries. Unfortunately, due to the political interactions with those countries, today the world is considering other arrangements. Definitely within the BRICS group of countries, such arrangements will be made between the member states. We have a payment system between countries based on local currencies. That was one of the topics of this meeting. China, Russia, and Iran are very interested in it. We have moved towards being able to conduct transactions with other countries in local currencies and reduce the role of the US dollar in international transactions. Russia has also made good progress. I think the BRICS countries have developed well and will definitely develop in the future. The new development bank, created by BRICS, can pursue many of the development goals of the BRICS member countries. Because today, the World Bank operates within the framework of the goals of the United States and Western countries. We hope that NDB will play this role for the BRICS member countries, and we want to become a member of NDB.
Okay, so that's the genesis, David, of the overall tenor of the message. So let's now segue to what's going on now. They're meeting in BRICS through Thursday. Iraq is in a really good place. They have a new Speaker of the House. I hope I'm saying it right. Al Mughadashi. I know I'm in the ballpark somewhere.
Yeah.
the Middle Easterners watching will probably know exactly what I mean and be able to translate that. But he is a non-corrupt, non-Iranian proxy. He's a Iraqi. So they're getting ready to put him into parliament. We're also watching for the project to delete 3 zeros in the oil and gas law that we've been widely anticipated for quite some time to get in there. We suspect that Maliki's going to pop his ugly face out like a whack-a-mole as soon as that comes out, because every time they try to pass that gas law, that's what happens. The Kurds bloc has selected primarily a Democratic party for the election that they're going with, which is neither here nor there. It just has the largest amount of bloc to win the majority, ostensibly. So that's going to come into play. Once that gets into parliament, what's interesting, I sent this to you, and I apologize, folks, I don't have time to get it up here today, but you can share it with your audience later. Somebody in the White House in the deep state leaked the Israeli plans. They were going to hit the power plants October 16th. That got thwarted because of that little initiative they just tried, a little agenda. So what we think is going to happen is we're watching to see, after said events happen in Iraq with the prime minister, with the Speaker of the House and the oil and gas law and Maliki, it's just a matter of time before Israel does what they're going to do. Now, people are concerned. I've seen this comment, so I want to squelch it right now. People are, well, John, if they're saying they're going to do it, isn't that a bad thing? No, because ordinarily in old warfare, right, David, you don't telegraph what you're going to do. The fact that they are means it's not World War III, and that this whole thing is a narrative script that Israel is doing their part per, Kim Clement's prophetic word, that they're going to come out and hit the power plants. So we think somewhere between after the events this week and leading up to the election of President Trump winning, they're going to do it. And then on the backs of that, we're going to be watching closely the next time we're on again, China, Taiwan, because you heard Xi came out and said, I think a day or two ago, he's got China prepped and ready for war. Now, again, if you were going to do that, you wouldn't say it. But we're watching Ukraine. We've talked about this before, for Putin to finish up that nonsense, go right into China, Taiwan for a couple of days, at which point you have lots of distractions over here. You don't see what Iraq's doing behind the scenes to return to the international stage.
Yeah. And again, you have to understand how devious Israeli intelligence are. Let me reword that. They're extremely clever. I mean, what happened with these? Yeah, Mossad. Yeah, what happened with these walkie-talkies and pages? I mean, if you look at the background of that particular event, how Israel set it up, they bought a company, they then got manufactured some goods, and they managed to get those goods into areas where they knew they were going to sell them. They set up fake reviews from hundreds of people, and they hid the explosives inside the power cells, so inside the batteries. So these pages and electronic devices would have been on airplanes for sure. You cannot detect them. Now, I was surprised that apart from doctors and hospitals still using pages, but their plan is ingenious. And for them to say, okay, this is what we're going to do next, is actually ridiculous, considering the amount of intelligence that this group has, Mossad, and the entire nation. But what we do know is that it is something that needs to be sorted out. Trump's been a little bit speechy on it, but I thought it was an interesting meeting that Zelensky actually asked to sit down with Trump. Why would that little green dress weirdo want to, bad actor?
Yeah, really.
Please give us another 30 billion. It's just 30 billion.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $5. That's what you're worth to me. I'm just saying.
You do that very well.
Yeah, so I mean, totally. You got Trump also egging on BRICS saying, oh, if you do it, I'm going to put tariffs on you. That's reverse psychology, saying go do it, right? Or, hey, we should bomb Iran. It's going to look like, it's moves and counter moves, this whole thing.
I mean, the other thing that you can't, the value of the paper dollar is what we're talking about as well. Right. They haven't got the power behind all the multi-trillion-dollar oil purchases now because Saudi Arabia rejected that re-signing of the contract. We now got all the BRIC nations that they can actually do the transactions in local currency backed by gold, so they know that it has value. It's like saying, okay, I'll swap this for this, but paper-backed fiat currency is just not where it's going to go, because take Europe, for example, Germany, like Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, all of these countries that are struggling owe billions to the EU. As for example, Italy and Spain. Italy owes Spain 25 and Spain owes Italy 18 or something. So, well, you give us the 25 and then we'll give you change back. It's like going into a store negotiating. When both of them are bullshitting, they both don't have it. And Germany's been carrying the road because of their economic mights, and such as through the car industry. So it's a whole house of cards that are it's going to have to come crashing down because nobody has any confidence in long term in this. They all sit there and pat each other on the back and reassure each other, but you've got to think the only thing that's going to be of any value is things that have value, such as gold and silver and platinum. And it's got to go crypto. It's got to go crypto. It's got to go, not necessarily Bitcoin for our novices there, but all of the other ones that you've actually talked about. It's the only way forward, because all of a sudden your paper money's valueless. But okay, I bought, luckily for me, I bought something that's a commodity, something that's always in high demand and high value. So all the marker signs are getting closer and closer and closer. And as we get up to the election, it's just a matter of what are they going to try to distract us with next before we get there.
Well, here's the thing, David. That's what you just said is the perfect backdrop and thesis for BRICS. We're not getting close. We're there. They're going to, whether it's just a question of whether they announce it this week or they just tacitly, quietly do it. They really don't have to announce it because they already kind of did at the UN General Assembly last month of September. They did it individually. Now they're collectively meeting. But what they're doing is settling up in trade and commerce on real-time assets. Like you said, something real for something real. They have roughly 40% gold-backed Russian, Chinese bonds, which are ostensibly gold tools. Tremendous value. And they're just going to peg that and back it with all these. They're going to offer the unit, meaning Putin primarily will offer the unit to all these countries. It's optional, but it's a way more attractive option than the US dollar. And of course, it's going to be so good, you're going to look foolish to say, no, I'd rather stay with the dollar, enslaving me and money laundering and forcing me to. So it's really a very good, clever way to facilitate the reset, and also puts pressure on the US to gold back the dollar going forward, because otherwise we're left out in the cold here.
Yeah, you can't afford that. You can't afford that. So the BRICS all getting together and making it, I think it's an even playing field now. And that was also something I talked about. Even playing field when, your Chinese currency and cryptos worth this against the gold. Okay, yeah, that's okay. We keep it like that. And if everybody's price goes up, the gold goes up worldwide, obviously that'll adjust everybody else's, because for 1 ounce of gold, this is the price, and this is how many is going to be in your currency. So makes sense to me, John. Makes sense.
Well, let me just read a couple little cliff notes here, David, that I sent you on your phone. IMF is losing its grip, which I don't know if they ever had it. I mean, you had Christine Lagarde, who was the head of the IMF. Now she's the head of the European Central Bank, which is like going from the frying pan to the fire, living there. And you have Georgianne, whatever last name is now the IMF. It's just incestuously switching. It's take your poison. You've got the Mossad commentary. IDF has begun its wave of attacks in Beirut. So what's going on is Israel is finishing up in Beirut. I think they're waiting for the signal to go into Iraq, Iran, which we discussed. And then this just came out like a half an hour ago, at least on my end, eliminating the so-called Hashem Safadian, head of the executive council of the terrorist Lebanon, Hezbollah. You also had Soudani mention today that 8 key members of ISIS have been taken out. So
they're cleaning shop. They're cleaning up.
They're cleaning house.
It's just spring cleaning before the big change comes, because we don't take out all of these fanatics that want to hang on to the old ways.
Well,
and
David,
they're all corrupted, whether it's whatever vice they've got, where it's young this or young that, or an envelope. Money doesn't always cut it. This is why all these other situations have gotten this bad on the planet, because there's only so much money you can give a person to say, look, I've got everything I need now. What else you got? What else you got?
Mm-hmm. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I got a little excited to say that, David, it's like the timing is perfect. This thing was so perfectly orchestrated, like a chess match, right? It's got Trump written all over it. Drop this thing on the deep state 10 to 12 days before the election, and everybody's going to see it. And then what happens after the election? November 7th, this is key for you guys to know, everybody. the Fed they've announced that they're going to drop the interest rates another 25 basis points. And then again in December. What's that do? That's a panic move. That's going to tank the dollar. It's going to lower the index. Perfect for the foreign currencies, perfect for gold and silver to break out. And guess what else happens after Israel hits the power plants and the missile sites? The oil fields. Yeah. So we're going to see a pretty good spike in oil we've been anticipating for quite some time. But that all falls on the deep state's watch, and all before Trump comes back in optically. I also have a very exciting update, David, I know you're going to like, and I think everybody here will like, regarding med beds. So I called my buddy Jerry on our team, and he's got his friend, the Marine, the one that I told you about 2 years ago, had a friend go in his place, because Marines take care of each other. I mean, all the military does, but especially Marines, Semper Fi, always faithful. So he gave his spot 2 years ago to his buddy here in California. And the Marine isn't in the best of health either, but that's just the humility that those guys are, that old guard's about. We called him and we said, hey, are we still going to go to Walter Reed or a military location to get a med bed? He said, no. Trump has been working with the military to place med beds in, I don't know if it's every hospital, but certainly a lot of hospitals throughout America. And I would imagine in the whole of Europe and the world as well. And they're waiting for his signal to roll them out to the public. And we don't know when that date's going to be, obviously, right? The best I can do is give you an educated guess. And I would think that would be probably once Trump's optically back in first quarter of next year. So it's on his watch.
He's not going to give all away that lovely free stuff to people if he's not sitting in the White House, because it wouldn't make sense to give it anything now. I don't think the only thing I'm predicting is, and I don't want it to happen, obviously, I'm predicting some event that's going to make people wake up even more before we go into it. But the amount of people are asking me, are we going to have an election? Are we not going to have an election? How they're going to do it? There's too many variables, and the chances are we probably even haven't considered the real manner in which this is all going to kick off, because you could never anticipate such as exploding walkie-talkies and pages. Who would have predicted that? No. I mean, these guys are sneaky but ingenious, which is a dangerous enemy to have on the on this front.
Well, that also goes back, David, to what you said was very important a minute ago about their cleaning house. That's part of the wealth of the wicked being laid for the righteous. You cannot fund evil. I've seen people comment on that, and they're absolutely right. You've got to take the bad guys out and clear the dance floor of the corruption before you bring in the good stuff. So it's literally we're seeing optically what has already happened behind the scenes a while ago, the draining of the proverbial swamp for the people to see. And we don't know if there's going to be an election or not. We could have a case where we vote, military comes back in and says, you know what, we're going to just do this again with paper ballots, same day voting. You know, there's so many ways this can go. We just have to watch and see.
You're exactly right. I can't really predict any more than what I would think or feel is going to happen. So how are we doing on, let's hit some of the other countries. John, are you finished on Iraq? Is there anything else you need to talk about there?
No, I mean, we could go on for days with that, but that's the Reader's Digest of what I think people want to get. Vietnam is just waiting for China, Taiwan, as I said. That will free them enough. They're not going to get 100% of, communism out, but it'll get enough to extricate them out and free them up in silver, Litecoin, and many other things, gold that they've got. Vietnam, who is also at the BRICS, by the way. Just want to look that up. And Zimbabwe, we're watching Chamiso closely. He's putting out a lot of comms. My suspicion is that he's also talking about the farmers, as I mentioned. I showed you that picture as well, screenshot. Our suspicion is he'll probably come out in sometime first quarter, January-ish. Once Trump is back in, he'll probably be put in power of that. And, you've talked about the show that you watched where the guys were, going to Zimbabwe and digging gold under the ground. We know the virtues they've got. I think it's interesting that they turned down China. It's $300 million offer to mine metals if they want to mine it themselves, and they should. It's their gold.
Absolutely. If that just gets funded, they'll benefit the rewards from the not giving away that much to China, which is ultimately could still be their enemy. I mean, when I was a little bit shocked actually, John, because when I got to Beijing the other day, nothing works. Beautiful new airport, but none of your communications all work. They knock out your WhatsApp, they knock out the Facebook, they knock out the Instagram. I couldn't even check if there was a parcel on its way to being delivered with me because they thought that was a suspicious website. The control and intelligence that they're doing in China on the citizens makes me believe that there's maybe a bit more of a sinister plot than we anticipate coming out of there. But there's certainly people that know what they're doing. They're blocking everything, so you can't get all your updates. You're not allowed to you can't even use a voice message on WhatsApp, or text doesn't work. Dubai, for example, you can still get text messages. You're just not allowed to use the video and the voice calling.
Okay. Well, I have something to say about that real quick, David. I'm inclined to agree with you. People have said to me, well, what about for the Christian contingency? Do we trust China? Do we trust BRICS? Short term, yes. Long term, no. I think we have a 5-year. I've told you this before. I'm saying this again for posterity. I think we have from the end of this year into 2030ish, we have about a 5-6 year window of prosperity where we're good, which is why we encourage people to buy their own land, get off the grid, and be safe, have safe havens. But we have the power to pray and rebuke this in Jesus' name with mighty warrior angels. We need to just take advantage of that as believers and rebuke it. The power of prayer can push it away, but if we don't take advantage of that, then it's kind of like open season in the spirit realm. So that being said, we have a window of time where we can take advantage of these cryptos and things like that. That's why what I want to do, David, is credit to John Nigo on Currency 365, because this was his idea many years ago. And, I like to give credit where it's due. He said that we need to be investing in a godly internet. We do, because I think Google is only going to get stronger in power. They're going to continue to try to push this beast system. So the more that we extricate ourselves away from it now and get ahead of it, like we're doing with the news cycles, the better off we'll be.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. What else you got in your little notes list there?
Just a little couple of cleanup items. North-South Korean won. That's a currency we recommend. Once those two countries merge next year after their little war spat, whatever that's going to look like, who knows? That will be a great one to get. Thai baht, we've talked about. Venezuela, we need to be watching. There's a lot of heat on Maduro. I know they're trying to get him out for potentially Juan Guaido, which Trump talked about years ago in his State of the Union back in 2019.
Yeah.
So that's going to be one to watch. There's others, but those are the main kind of front and center ones right now. It all really starts with Iraq, and then will precipitate, we think, pretty quickly once they rip the proverbial Band-Aid off.
Well, I would tell people to be alert and vigilant for events that you would consider unusual. It'd be nice to see. Another possibility is them actually coming out and admitting it. Texas. This is what I'm saying. Things are changing, John. In the States, people are not believing this anymore. Texas, for example, has declared that it's not going to take the advice of central government and telling them what to do with the gay community and the transgender community. They're like, no, and we're not going to just get into that here. You're not going to get all those automatic worshipping points you get from other states, just as like New York. So the spat between Taiwan and China again has to take place as a bit of an in-house cleansing.
Yeah.
I know if you look, I was flying over these countries, and in China you could just see vast acres of huge factories, because the manufacturing that they've got set up in Japan is very interesting. They've set that up in a way that's going to protect them, because they're exports and imports, and they're in the BRIC economy. So they don't need permission to send a container ship somewhere else in the world just because the Americans don't like it. The deep state have been selling weapons. If you go to a weapons show in Europe, it's all the major players: Germany, France, Belgium, and Spain. No, not Spain, the UK. All exhibit the weapons of mass destruction, and yet they're still doing deals, So it's about the business, isn't it? It's either speed it up or slow it down, or throw in the towel.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. But I think that's a pretty good kind of summation. Anything else that you want to weigh in?
No, I'm watching carefully what's going on politically. Trump's, again, his rallies are just phenomenal, what they're doing. I've got something I can share the audience very quickly. Just the amount of people there and the backup that he's getting, the support he's getting on an emotional level. And, this isn't one of his rallies. This is a concert that Kid Rock. And the emotional feeling in this is patriotism. we're all sick of it. We want our lives back. We want to have the respect from our kids. They're going to ask us. Okay, what's the rules and how do we do it? Where is it? Must be this one. Look at this. John, if you're a member of the cabal or if you're sitting in the White House, fake White House, currently you see those sort of figures and people all banding together in a brotherly love and sisterly love without any rainbow flags around their shoulders and saying, we're Americans, we're patriots. The numbers that Trump has got coming out and in support like this, I plead with all that is sacred that they don't mess about with the real numbers again, like 4 years ago. I mean, it's nail-bitingly interesting stuff going on, isn't it?
Well,
I mean,
remember, David, they now have edicts. Trump has said anybody who tries to cheat in the election will be arrested, and technically, by the constitutional standard, that's considered treason. So,
yeah,
you know, this is all, you know, this is part of the playbook to show everything. I was going to show you. I think I sent you this. Polymarket has him up 63.4% over whoever they are, and whatever creature that is. And I think the numbers are actually a lot higher than that, to be honest with you. And you saw him over the weekend at a Steelers game. I think that's 68,000 people there chanting USA. I mean, you know, the people need to stand up and rise up against, as they always need to do, against the establishment. There's more of us than them. We just need to keep fighting. I would just encourage everybody to, if you haven't voted, get out and vote Trump. It does make a difference, particularly this year.
Absolutely. I was standing in a line with 3 women my age, more or less, from Philadelphia, and I said, "So, are you excited about the election coming up?" They said, "Well, I wouldn't say excited, more nervous." I was like, "Why?" So, well,
why?
if he gets back in. And then I said, "Look, I'm going to be in this line for the next hour. I know, because I can see how do I get into it with them?" So I was playing very soft. They got off very lightly. I played very softly, saying, "Why don't you like Trump? I don't understand. Tell me why he's a racist. He's a rapist. He's a sexual deviant. He's an offender." I'm like, "Yeah, girls, carry on. They're from Philly. Carry on watching CNN." And then I said, ultimately, it won't make much difference to me. Wink, wink. Who wins? But when you see the amount of people that attend the rallies and the amount of people that get paid to go to Kamala, and yet she still can't fill even close to a stadium. And then she starts speaking with an Indian accent one day and then a Caribbean twinge the next, like this, she's like, "Everything gonna be all right. Everything I. And then this French guy, they said, "That's not true. That's not what happened." And then this French guy piped up. He says, "Yes, it is. I have seen this ridiculous accent changing from woman." So I thought, "Oh, thanks, mate. You've really screwed me now, because I'm going to get, evil eye for the next hour and a half." But the bottom line is, there are actually people out there that still believe that it is the best option.
Sadly, the brainwashing. You know what that sounds like, David? It sounds just like your old pal Bill. Let's put out there and see which way the wind blows. That's what reminds me of.
You could still do that. I mean, Clinton, Hillary, as you say, being ruled out. I don't believe
Hillary
around, John. And look how much bigger they made Guantanamo prisoner. For who? Who's going down there? It's not turned into some resort, is it? Is it now Guantanamo?
The one-way spa.
Yeah. Welcome to the one-way spa. We've reserved a special cell for you with your own for a noose to go around your neck made out of silk. Push 1 for traditional cowboy brutal rope burn.
They're like the Roach Motels. They check in, but they don't check out.
Yeah, the California Hotel California.
Yeah, exactly.
How are we gonna end this then? What's the biggest prediction you got coming up then? Make a call on something.
I mean, I predict it's not anything. I don't think anybody's gonna be shocked by, but I mean, I think Trump's gonna win. Trump's gonna win in a red wave. I I would surprise some people by saying I think he's got a good chance of winning California, believe it or not. I
Yeah,
see
I
a
think
lot of
there's a
Trump
few
flags out
states.
here.
Yeah,
You know?
I think that's good. I think there's a few states that he's going to surprise people, but I'm going to call some form of event that's going to be another, like whether it's more famous names and people from the Diddy case,
Mhm.
something like that, being in more exposure, more, where Sleepy Joe supporters are going to be shocked and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe I've been duped
Yep.
into it." But it's really, it's gone. We've been through some hellish times and some crazy intel and some bizarre stories, exploding pages and crazy weather formations and, sweeping across the states. And it's going to be a Cat 5 and then it's a Cat 1 when it lands. And there's some crazy stuff going on, but we only have a short window to see what's really going to happen next, because I think the next 3 weeks is going to be super interesting.
We got one shot. We got to make it right. This isn't so much about a prediction, is more of a proclamation, I would say. I
Yeah.
want to caution our audiences about this. Even after he wins, it's it's over, but it's not over in the sense that there's still November and December until he's back optically. You're going to see interest rates drop. You're going to see gold and silver go up. You're going to see oil go up. You're going to see hyperinflation happen, especially once we get our exchange, our resets going. Um, you're going to see a lot of unhappy people and panicking, and you're going to see, I got a guy coming on next month who's a pretty smart economist as far as knowing, statistician and statistical analysis, and he's showing me that we're in the melt up and the bust, and he said the crap's going to hit the fan in November. And that's exactly what happened 16 years ago, but now it's reverse engineered for our benefit.
Yeah.
But we're the 1% or less. 99% of the population doesn't even know it's going to happen or act's going to happen. And the whole world's going to be like, oh, well, that's cool. Good for them. Well, back to reality TV, yum, yum, or what about this election? It's the more distractions we have, the better that is for what we're waiting.
And look at what's going on with distractions. We got political corruption. We got movie stars and the music industry being exposed. There's a lot of distractions out there. But if you've got the intelligence to see through the mist, it's actually quite clear what's going on. And I see it's just distraction.
Yep.
Well, mate,
Well,
anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. I got to take care of some proverbial business just to cover ourselves. If anybody, as you always say, is looking for currencies, dinar, dong, zim, bolivar, the whole lot, we'll leave that link in the description. We also have a great relationship with a precious metals dealer that we trust. I've bought from them before and had great success, so I've done it myself. We'll leave that link. And also, I don't normally do this, but we're not in normal times. Chris has come up with an initiative whereby he has created a personalized silver coin for me. And what we're doing is, if anybody wants to buy one, they can. Now, hold on, folks. I don't really care about having my face on this. In fact, I was uncomfortable with it. The only reason I'm okay with it is because we have an initiative, a humanitarian initiative, to pay it forward. So if somebody has enough silver, they don't need it, but let's say they have a friend in need. Anybody who buys a coin, we're going to get automatically put into a raffle. We're going to give away between 5 and 10 coins to the most people in most need, the elderly, people with disabilities, limited incomes, the like, who don't have any skin in the game. Those are the people we want to take care of first. I said to Chris, I'll do it on 3 conditions. 1, that we can do a giveaway to pay it forward. 2, that it commemorates the season. And 3, when I have my kids one day and they say, hey, what'd you do during this time? I could tell them, I could show them videos. But I think since I'm bequeathing to them precious metals as part of my legacy, it would be a lot more meaningful. I want this to have, I promise you, this is not about my ego. I don't even like this stuff. I mean, doing this channel was, as you know, a sacrifice to God because I was comfortable behind the scenes. But, the thing is, when we say yes to God and we're obedient, that's when blessings come. So I just said, if we're going to do this, let's make it practical. Let's give something back, right? And I don't really see any money of this. The proceeds, what's left, go to cover the costs of the channel and the website and the maintenance and all the stuff that we have to do, especially with inflation upticking. It's just to keep the ship going so we can bring out the good information. But let's make something good out. So if anybody is interested in doing that, we'll leave that link in the description as well.
I'm a bit jealous. I'll have to come up with something like
Don't be. It's just my face. Don't be that jealous.
Mahoney branded ammunition or Mahoney branded whiskey?
I'm not as good. I'm not as good looking as you. I don't have the accent as you. So no, you don't need to be jealous, mate.
You got a lot less kilometers on you as well, buddy. That's it. I'm feeling it now, actually. I'm pleased that we've got it through the hour, because one stage I was like, oh, I can feel it sweeping over me now, this
Yeah, I'll
lack
bet.
of jet lag. But John, thanks so much.
Thanks
It's
for
always
doing this.
great for the intel that you share with the audience, and I look forward to speaking to you privately. If there is anything else that we feel that you need to share, you can get on John's Telegram channel. He's great at that. The posts go up sometimes twice or through an hour. I've seen you post stuff. It just depends what's happening.
Like every 20 minutes now with everything going on.
I believe it. I believe it. And we'll be back again in 3-4 weeks. Actually, we'll probably be back right about close to election time. So let's see what's happening there. It's the 23rd to 22nd today now for me. Yep. But yeah, we will be right back right before election. Exciting times, John. Thank you so much, mate. And thanks for the invite, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.